Hello, Goddess. Welcome back. This is Andrea with You Are Mind, Body, Soul. And in this space, I guide goddesses to bridge the mind, body, and soul through psychosomatic education, consciousness reconditioning, alchemy, and energetics. Come on in. I have a glass of water here with me today. Grab yourself some tea, some coffee, some water, a smoothie, whatever makes you feel good. Keeps your palate wet. I'm so happy to be here today to chat with you. We're going to talk about what they don't want you to know, namely, starting with self love. We're going to go deep into the self love journey, and I'm going to share a bit about where I came from and how I got to be in this space of fully embracing myself authentically and kind of some of the things that have helped me with that process. Before I dive too deep into this conversation, I want to remind you to please like the video. Shout out to those 8 people that consistently like these videos. We are almost to 100 followers, or we're probably there by now. So, yes, let's celebrate that. Please like so that the algorithm can do its magical thing. Please share these videos so that other goddesses, such as yourself, can also receive these messages. And remember to subscribe, because if you're watching and you're not subscribed, you're a lurker, but it's all good either way. Thanks for being in this space. Y'all know I have my notes, you know how I roll. So let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, I want to encourage you to be fierce in who you are. Be fierce in who you are in your authentic essence. Now, I know that when I say the word fierce, the first thing that comes to mind is like flamboyant energy, open energy, extroverted energy, comfortable with being seen at the forefront of things. But that is not necessarily fierce. That is not the only definition of fierce. Fierce is not simply just being visible. Okay. We can show up in our lives and we can be fiercely authentic in our expression, not only our expression, but also in the way in which we show up for ourselves. So, for example, for me, I am a big introvert. So, and I'm also an empath. So, I'm very sensitive to other people's emotions and energies. Okay. So, one of the things that I have learned through my self love and my self discovery journey is to be fierce about the boundaries that I set for myself energetically so that I can always feel vibrant and I can keep myself in a space in which I feel like I am thriving. Okay. Because when you show up, goddess, in a space of being fierce about your energy and fierce about your understanding and your acceptance of who you are authentically, okay, you are going to then deepen into your journey and you're going to fortify your personal vibration. And being a fierce proponent and supporter of who you are in the face of the world that is always trying to tell you who you should be and to give you examples of what that looks like, you want to be that beacon of light for yourself. And anytime you're tuning into this channel and into the vibration that I'm emitting here, my intentions are that these messages are fortifying your personal vibration and your personal energy. So, like the month of December, all of December, I've been talking about personal vibe, personal vibration, because everything is an emanation of who you are on a personal internal level, because you are the divine feminine and all living life is an extension of you and your creative capabilities. And we are all, it is our birthright, it is our design as women to be in vibrational alignment with the earth, with Mother Earth. She is the source of creative energy. Okay, so that personal vibration is going to be the most important thing for you to master in your life and to get into attunement with. And I'm just so happy and so grateful to be in this space where I have the time and the energy to pour into this channel, which is pouring into me. When I show up and I share my voice and I share my truth, I'm pouring into you that are watching, that are receiving this with open hearts and minds and souls. And I'm also pouring into myself because it's just been such a long, it's been a long journey. And excuse me, it's cold. My nose is running a little bit. It's been such a long journey of just sitting with myself and kind of just trying to figure out who I am. And when you become fierce in the journey of self love and fierce about getting clear about not just who you are, but who you want to be, not just who you are by default, who you actually want to be, a person that you're in love with, a person that you're passionate about with. Okay. And waking up and being her every day of your life energy hits differently. Everything hits differently. Okay. So, what they don't want you to know is that you have power over all of this. You are the source of everything in your reality. That's what they don't want you to know. Okay. They don't want you to be empowered. They don't want you to have this knowledge of self. Hit that like button, drop a heart below. Okay. If you're feeling this message so far. All right. So when I first started my self-love journey, I remember I was in like my early 20s. Okay. And I was dealing with anxiety and depression, which I've talked about before. Okay. But it was specifically being fueled by some relationships that I had. There were specific relationships that I had in my life. Okay. That I was internalizing myself as a victim of. These conversations, these interactions, the way that these people were treating me and talking to me, they were so important to me that I started to internalize their ideas of me. Okay. And I woke up one day and I realized that I did not like myself. And then I asked myself, do I love me? Do I love myself? Because I was so busy trying to be loved by everyone that I never considered the fact that, am I someone that I love? Okay. And it was this big pause. Okay. Because when I realized that I didn't love myself, okay, I recognized that it was showing up in the form of me being abusive to my body, in the form of eating things that were not good for my health, eating things that were not making me feel well and not feel healthy. I was setting certain life aspirations to please and appease people that had this idea of who I should be, or to fit in with the norm, with the family norms that have been created for me, with the societal norms that have been created for me. I saw all of my friends going down these pre-beaten career paths, like that nicely paved out solid road that tells you which way to go and when you're going to stop, and everything is like pre-organized. Okay. And because that route was not really in alignment with who I authentically was, but I was striving so hard to keep in line with that pace that was already pre-prescribed for me, I was measuring myself up to that standard. I was building myself into being someone that I did not love. Okay. And I remember the day that I started to ask myself that question. And what I had to do as a result of the conversation that I had was I had to completely tune those people out of my life. So I created great distance. Like I disappeared off the map. Sometimes you got to disappear off the map. I know when you see those memes, this is what they're talking about. Like, shut the noise of society out, shut the noise of the world out, disappear off the map and do what feeds your soul. Stay plugged into quality sources that are going to feed you and level you up. And it's such a great time as we are in this new year period. I'm not sure if I'm going to drop this video in 2023 or 2024 because these videos are pre-recorded and we're kind of getting there. But like, this is a time to be asking yourself, who am I? Okay. Ask yourself, do I love me? Do you love yourself? Do you really love yourself when everything in the world, all the noise of the world is turned off? And all you have to do is be who you truly were meant to be. without the acceptance of others or the validation of others, the gaze of others, their attention? Do you love who you are? Okay. And it's just so important for us to be in a space where we can honestly say yes to this. I want you to have the peacefulness of this, because that peaceful tranquility will make you whole. When you know that you are here, you are number one on your team, instead of relying on people that are constantly putting you down and disappointing you. Okay. We want to set ourselves up for success in this life. Okay. So there came a point where I started to realize that I was just being a receptacle for everybody's judgments. I had no kind of idea about astral hygiene or what it meant to protect my energy. I knew nothing about that. So everything, every negative thing that was being projected to me and being said to me about who I was, the criticisms, the negative energy, I was just absorbing it like a sponge. I had no kind of personal boundaries. And I'm sure I probably talked about boundaries in other videos. I might make another video on boundaries. If I can find it, I'll post it in here. But the problem about not having boundaries energetically or otherwise, and to put yourself in a space where you are absorbing other people's energy, the problem with that is that everybody in this world has their own issues that they're sorting through. And if people are treating you in a certain way, it is simply because, sorry, it is simply because that is how they see themselves. Okay. This is a standard that they have created for their own lives. So when you show up and you participate in those relationships without setting boundaries, you are subscribing to their standards as well, rather than creating your own. And I know that it can be scary to have boundaries and to shift your standards, to no longer show up for things that other people are used to you showing up as. But I guarantee you, the moment that you start to become in alignment and become in attunement with your authentic self, the rest of the world will align to that, because you are at the center of your world. You are the main character of your world. We want that main character flex, not that side character flex. Okay. You want to be the main character of your own life. When those credits end, you want to know that you showed up for this life and you sang every note that was divinely given to you to sing, that you created everything in this life that was divinely inspired for you to create, that you saw all of the places in your life that your heart was calling you to show up for. When those credit in on the movie of your life. And if we are not seeking authentic alignment with ourselves and really getting into attunement with our goddess vibration, we end up being side characters for someone else's life. Okay. For my business owners and my entrepreneurs, if you don't create your own brand, whether or not you're a business owner, if you don't create your own brand, your own authentic essence, your own self, you will be assigned to support and facilitate someone else's brand. Okay. And as goddesses, that's who circulates through my channel, women who have awareness of their sovereign energy, their sovereign origins, and are creating their reality from that inner space and working on that journey and that process and the time and the dedication that requires to heal, and then to continue to show up for the transformation that brings over time. That's what this channel is for, are for the women that want to pave the way in their communities and that want to be leaders for themselves by having the courage to do your inner work, by having the courage to get into those uncomfortable, authentic spaces with yourself. Okay. And giving the world the space to adjust to who you are. Give yourself space. All right. Um, so that's how I measure my self-love. Okay. When I accomplish this goal that X, Y, and Z thought that I would create? Did I show up in whatever it was this person expected me to? Does this person love me in this relationship? Like, it was always, what do other people want? And how can I put them on a pedestal? Back when I was like in my formative years, it was always, everything was always outside of me and not to please me and to please myself. Like, are you finding pleasure in your life? Are you finding pleasure with yourself? um I remember when I was a kid, one time I went to one of my parents and I was like, I'm bored. Like, I'm bored. And they were like, if you're bored, that means you're a boring person. So wait, oh my gosh, you're right. And I never have been bored with myself another day of my life. Food for thought. If you love yourself and you know that you are in a space of self-love with yourself, or regardless, I want you to affirm, I love me some me. I love myself. I want you to leave positive words of self-affirmation in the comment below with a heart. I love myself. And I remember when I first started to say that, it was almost like it was taboo to love myself fiercely and openly, and to be honest about that fact. I don't know why. I don't know why we always have to convince ourselves as women that it's okay to prioritize your well-being, to believe in yourself, to speak confidently, to have pride in yourself. There must be some kind of evolutionary reason that we as women develop to be um agreeable and sometimes submissive and to fit into these smaller containers. Do you ever feel like that? Do you ever feel like, oh, I can't shine too brightly because I'll make someone uncomfortable? Or if I start doing this and I start showing up in this way, then I'm going to get negative feedback, or there's a danger there. I do believe that there is some kind of like biological evolutionary reason that we have learned to play it safe. But we want to draw inspiration from the goddesses of history, like Athena, like Freya, um, Bridget, Artemis. Okay. We want to find motivation, Yamaya, these bold goddesses that just flow and allow their energy to just be what it is. Okay. Unapologetically. It's okay. All righty. So ask yourself, what are you absorbing and what are you internalizing? Whose opinions, whose energies, whose gaze? Are you seeking the male gaze? Are you seeking that attention? And when you don't get that attention, does that affect how you feel about yourself on that day? I want to level you up out of that. I want to level you up out of the need for people to validate you. Okay? Because if we are always showing up in a space where we need to be agreed with, where we need to be validated with, we're never going to climb the mountains and to take the journeys that were specifically paved out by God for us. Okay? I want you to be dedicated and married to your own sacred path and to forsake all else that is not in vibrational alignment with who you are. And it takes time to recognize what your authentic essence is. It takes self study and self devotion and self dedication. And you also have to train yourself to believe that you are deserving of it all. You get to have it all. It's important for you to believe that you get to have everything that your heart desires. You can only be one person. You can't be sad and tired and a victim and the girl that waits around to be acknowledged and to be accepted and to be loved and to have that attention. You can't be her and a badass goddess, sovereign, elevated being at the same time. You got to pick, baby. As we move into this new year, you have to decide who you want to be because you can't be both. You can't vacillate between both sides when it comes to your identity. And this is what they won't tell you. You have to choose who you want to be. You have to choose to be deserving. You can't wait for someone to tell you that you deserve the life that you know you desire in your heart of hearts. We cannot wait for this validation. You have to give it to yourself. Okay. And I'm here to remind you of that. So I started to go through this purging process where I just started to release all of the negative beliefs and the negative talk that was portrayed towards me. Okay. And I shed it. And I shed it on every level. Okay. I shedded it in my mind. I stopped subscribing. I stopped believing. I stopped having those conversations. I started to do my spiritual work on myself. And I started to level myself up energetically and I started to become in alignment with that goddess version of myself, the one that is living the goddess lifestyle. Okay. Where I am showing up and I am being served and I am being worshiped by lovers that respect me, and that love my vibration. I had to come into alignment with that. Okay. And it's a sacred process. It's a sacred process that takes time. You have to marry yourself. You have to marry yourself before you marry or subscribe to anything else. And it was an entire process. And I teach about all of these in my courses. And also, there's going to be a 33-day private group where I'm going to take you through a sacred process. And every day, we're going to go through a different meditation, a different affirmation, and I'm going to share with you concepts and ideas and give you food for thought so that you can start to fortify your vibration in the first 33 days of 2024. 2024 is an 8-year, okay? So it goes like this. 8 is the infinity. We are always regenerating ourselves. Okay. We are always taking the things that no longer work for ourselves as alchemists. A part of alchemy is taking what no longer serves you and then weaving it, composting it, and weaving it into a new framework of self, shifting your consciousness, elevating your consciousness through how you see yourself and how you see your life. We have to recondition ourselves. So I think that 2024 is going to be powerful for this evolution and for this transformation. Okay. So if you want to rock with us in the first 33 days of the year, I'm inviting you to be a part of this movement and to be a part of our tribe and community. DM me, email me. Okay. And I'll let you know once I have enrollment for that. All right. But One of the things that, we have to do in order to shift ourselves is rewriting our story. And sometimes you simply just have to recreate yourself. Because before we start to grow in our consciousness, before I woke up and realized that I didn't love myself, the person that I was someone that was totally different. And then when I started to sit in myself and I started to move through life from my own internal perspective, rather than the perspective of those that were hating on me or those that thought that I should be something that God did not put me here to be. I was not born to be a doctor. I was born to be a healer. Okay. I had to change and I had to recreate myself. And when we are in the process of recreating ourselves, there are certain things that happen habitually that perpetuate the patterns mentally, physically, and spiritually. Okay. And there is our developmental psychology, which is going to predict how we respond in challenging situations and circumstances. There's going to be our triggers and how we focus on them, how much attention we give to our triggers. Okay. There's going to be how we respond to reward and how we reward ourselves. Because reward can be good, but if you're addicted to people constantly awarding you, constantly applauding you, there's a part of yourself that you've got to be neglecting. Because there's a part of you that doesn't just want the reward. There's a part of you that just wants to be rewarded by you. Also, the reward system of how we celebrate. Are you celebrating yourself when you have your wins? Are you celebrating and respecting the small efforts that you make on a daily basis to show up? Okay. Are you punishing yourself? Okay. Like, are you self-punitive? A lot of women, we internalize like the negative parenting aspects and we punish ourselves by denying ourselves pleasure. And then in some ways, we could be punishing ourselves by not regulating our pleasure and overindulging to the point where we know that we're compromising our health, like I was with food. Okay. And this can be anything. So, how are we dealing with addiction and vice versa? Okay. And then, what is our relationship with pleasure? Like I said, do you have a healthy relationship with pleasure? Because pleasure can be something that is utilized to guide you, to elevate you, to motivate you. Pleasure can be used just to kind of move things along. And pleasure can also be used to overstimulate us, to numb us out. So, the way that we regulate pleasure, and these things are all things that I started to really look at as I was creating myself anew. Rest. Do I allow myself the pleasure of rest? Do I allow myself the self respect of rest? Do I allow myself the dignity of knowing that the universe will provide, that God provides if I just lay down and rest and relax? Okay. And then another thing that they don't want you to know is that you are who you choose to be. Okay. The law of expectation is that everything in your world is working for you. And that if you expect something to happen, that is what is going to show up in this reality. Is actually a metaphysical principle. So there's a law of expectation, which I believe is a reflection of the metaphysical principle that once you observe something in this reality by thinking about it, by putting energy into it, building a dream board for the positive things that we want to attract into our lives. Okay. We can use our attention and our energy to affect what shows up in the physical reality. And the Feminine Alchemy and Freedom Activator course talks about the entire spectrum of how all of that works and how your personal identity is shifted the more that you look at it, and how you cleanse yourself of old patterns and heal from the old, and how you begin to manifest the new. We talk about all that in the course. Okay. Um, but your dominant vibe, you want it to be of expectation that things are working for you. Okay. And this has to be something that you are dedicated to consistently, of observing something, because the more that you observe it, the more energy that you are going to fuel into the potentiation that that thing will come forth and that that thing will manifest. So what they don't want us to know is that every sit and we put energy into thinking about something, okay, the more time you think about something, the more time and energy you put in focusing on something, the more likely it will come to light. So if I want to, with body goals, I love using body goals because we always really focus as women a lot of times on how our body looks. The more that you focus on that thing, the more information you're going to get about it. You're going to do research on it. You're going to put positive vibrational focus on that thing. You're going to train, you put the energy into it, and you just show up for the journey. You show up and you walk the path. The more likely you're going to one day wake up and that thing that you are striving for then becomes something that is now a habit, a part of your being. Eating healthy and eating clean. You ever notice that when you stop eating certain things, like certain sugary foods, check out the 14-day Mind, Body, Soul Reset course. You know, you ever notice when you stop eating sugar that you actually stop craving it? And that is because you have put less energy, less focus into that thing. So now it's no longer in your body and your body no longer craves it. But if you're always constantly surrounded by sugar and you're always indulging, the more your body's going to crave that and everything that comes along with having a lot of sugar in your life. So I'm just giving you like examples. Okay. So the way that you see yourself, the way that you are talking about yourself, all is self, everything is created from you in your own personal reality, and because you are the lead role in your life. Okay. The more that you focus on that which you are becoming, that which you desire versus that of who you are or who other people thought you were, the more that you elevate your focus to be in alignment with your deepest desires, the more likely you are to become that thing. And a lot of times we get paralyzed with that step. There's always like that oh shit step. Right? We call it that oh shit moment in aerial fitness where you're trying to do a move and it's like, oh shit, man, that was like the part where I was like, oh man, this is like the make or break moment of whether or not I'm actually going to achieve this thing. When you're showing up and it's like, okay, now I'm going to do what I have not done before. And it's scary because we are not guaranteed the results. The only thing that's guaranteed is how you're talking to yourself, how you're framing things with yourself. You want the loudest voice in your head to be your own, not the voice of society. So it's important as divine feminine beings that we are finding the separation and that we are heightening our consciousness to know the difference between what is our voice and what is the voice of what the world is telling us. Because we want to build our own worlds. We want to have our goddess realities. I want luxury in my life. I want to be spoiled. Like there are certain things, and I am spoiled. There are certain things in my life that the old me would not have believed that I could have, or maybe she did believe that I could have it, but I was so busy focusing on what I didn't have. And I was so busy funneling my energy and siphoning my energy off into what I did not have and who I was not, or aspects about myself that I did not like. But then when I started to align with my higher self, my future self, and I started to love myself and give myself permission to believe in myself and to have these desires, it all started to come from that space. Okay. So I hope that you found this video helpful. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And I will catch you in the next one. One love. Mwah.